In this video I'll be taking a look at 10 mysteries that have been solved. Which of these are your favourite? Let me know in the comments. Number 10. The Somerton Man. The Somerton Man was an unidentified man whose body was found on a beach in Adelaide, South Australia on the 1st of December 1948. The case has been considered one of Australia's most profound mysteries, with speculation regarding the identity of the victim, the cause of the man's death, and the events leading up to his death. What was strange about this case was that inside of one of Somerton Man's trouser pockets was a scrap piece of paper with the words Tam and Shrad, which means it is finished or it is over in Persian. The book that the piece of paper was torn from was later found, along with some cryptic text that no one knew what it meant, as there were just 5 lines of random letters, which people thought could possibly be a code of some kind. It was also found that the Somerton Man's clothing had all the labels removed, which, along with the strange random letters, led people to link the Somerton Man to espionage. Before the Somerton Man was embalmed and buried, a plaster cast had been taken of the man's head, which became significant in 2022 when Professor Derek Abbott from the University of Adelaide used DNA from the hair found in the plaster model of the Somerton Man to identify the man, as well as finding 2 living relatives. Abbott discovered that the Somerton Man went by the name of Carl Webb, who came from Melbourne, Australia. He was an electric engineer, was 43 when he died and was married but had separated from his wife in April 1947. This may have been why he was at Somerton Beach, as he possibly was looking for his wife, not knowing that she had moved. The strange codes that were found are thought to be names of horses, as Cole liked to gamble, and the reason for the labels being removed from the man's clothes is thought to be for comfort or that they were handed down to him. Number 9. Solway Firth Spaceman. On the 23rd of May 1964, Jim Templeton, a firefighter from Carlisle, took 3 photos of his 5-year-old daughter Elizabeth while on a day trip to Burr Marsh. Jim's wife was also with him and their daughter. Jim stated that he took 3 pictures of his daughter in a similar pose and was shocked to find when the middle picture came back from being developed what appeared to be a spaceman in the background. Jim said that he did not see the figure until the photos had been developed, and Kodak confirmed that the photo was in fact genuine. So did the spaceman happen to be wandering around Burr Marsh and accidentally walk into shot when the photo was taken? Well, there was actually a simple explanation, and that was that Jim's wife Annie walked into the shot and Jim didn't see her because the Maker camera he was using only lets you see 70% of what was in the viewfinder. Annie was wearing a pale blue dress which became partially overexposed and thus appeared white in the photo. The photo itself was also overexposed, which led to the strange look of his wife's back. Number 8. Did Anastasia survive? In the early hours of the 17th of July 1918, the former Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II, and his family were brutally murdered by Bolshevik revolutionaries. The killers then took the bodies to a forest where they disposed of them in a mass grave. The theory was that Anastasia was able to flee the massacre with possible help from a soldier and live the rest of her life in the US, but what started this theory? Well, in the aftermath of what happened, the Bolsheviks were still fighting a civil war and deliberately spreading false information and only announced the death of Nicholas II, and so rumours surrounding the rest of the family's fate began to spread. In 1920, a young woman named Anna Anderson claimed to be Anastasia, and over the decades dozens of other people claimed to be Anastasia or one of her siblings or even her son or grandchild. However, Anna's claim remained the most famous of those that claimed to be Anastasia. The theory that Anastasia was alive endured for some time because the Bolsheviks didn't give clarity that all of the children had been killed. There was also evidence that was hidden away for a long time under the Soviet regime. Perhaps the biggest hope that Anastasia was still alive was that there were 2 bodies that couldn't be accounted for. Then in 2007 they found the 2 missing children, Anastasia and Alexei. The remains were fragmented, but they were able to do DNA tests, and in order to confirm the identities, blood samples from Prince Philip and grandnephew Serena Alexandra proved that all the DNA samples matched and that all of the Romanovs had died. Number 7. The Sailing Stones. Scientists have long been baffled by rocks that seem to move across flat ground in a lake bed in Death Valley, California. The parked stretch of land nicknamed Racetrack Player is home to these rocks that appear to glide along the ground, leaving a distinctive trail. These sailing stones, as they have become to be known by, have baffled researchers as far back as the 1900s, and it wasn't until 2014 that how they were moving was finally discovered. When you look at these rocks, it's easy to see that they shouldn't be capable of movement because they are large and heavy. One theory was that it might be strong wind pushing them, but this theory was later disproved. In 2014, a combination of time-lapse cameras and sensors attached to the rocks allowed researchers to get a view of their movement and determine what was moving them. Death Valley has a desert climate, and while it is extremely hot during the day, at night when the climate is bitter cold, if a small amount of rain falls, it creates a slight thin sheet of ice on the ground. When the sun rises and the temperature increases again, the ice then melts, making the ground muddy, but a small amount of ice remains under the rocks, which with the help of a slight breeze the rocks start to slide. The reason that no one has seen the rocks moving before is that they move so slowly and only slide around 5 to 15 feet a minute for around 15 minutes at a time. Number 6. How the pyramids were built. It has for a long time been a mystery how the Egyptians built the pyramids, with some even declaring that it must have been aliens, but it turns out that there is a simple but genius explanation of how they were constructed. The Great Pyramid, which was built to commemorate the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, which covers 13 acres and stands more than 480 feet, was completed around 2560 BC. But how did they transport 2.3 million limestone and granite blocks, each weighing on average more than 2 tons, across miles of desert from the banks of the Nile to the pyramid site of the Giza Plateau? Transporting these heavy stones over land would have been grueling, but scientists believed that utilising a river or channel would have made the process possible. But there's one problem to that theory, and that is that the Nile is miles away from the pyramids. However, a recent discovery has found that there is evidence that a lost arm of the Nile once cut through the stretch of desert where the pyramids lie, and would have greatly simplified transporting the giant slabs to the pyramid site. Scientists used clues that had been preserved in the desert soil and found that Khufu stream, which once branched from the Nile, dried up around 600 BC and played a critical role in the construction of the pyramids. In 2013, papyrus fragments were unearthed at an ancient harbour located near the Red Sea, which documents the efforts of men to transport limestone up the Nile to Giza. Some of the scrolls found date back to Khufu's reign, which further supports the theory. The evidence confirmed that the materials needed to build the pyramids were in fact transported over water. It is believed that they used sleds to transport the large blocks over the sand, adding water to the sand which increased the sand's stiffness, allowing the sleds to glide over the sand. One question that does still remain is how they got the stones up the pyramids. There are several theories ranging from some kind of lever and pulley system, or perhaps pulled up a ramp on the side of the pyramid by a vast number of workers. Number 5. The Lochness Monster. The Lochness Monster mystery has captivated people for decades, especially since the iconic Lochness Monster image surfaced in 1934. But is there really a monster lurking in Loch Ness? One woman thinks she has the answer. A woman named Sue Kao believes she knows what the so-called monster is after watching a documentary about Nessie which jogged something in her memory. The 60-year-old from Australia was watching a Loch Ness Monster documentary which showed the famous 1934 photo and instantly recognised it as being similar to shadow puppets that her father used to make, and explained that she believes the Loch Ness Monster in the photo was simply a bloke lying under the water with his arms sticking out. She even recreated the image and posted it online, but people refused to listen to her theory. Something Sue was right about was that the 1934 photo did not show Nessie and was indeed a hoax, which many had speculated over the years, which the author of the photo confirmed in 1994. There's been no real evidence of sightings of the Loch Ness Monster, and researchers who recently extracted DNA from water samples have found no evidence of a prehistoric marine reptile or large fish, such as a sturgeon. However, they did find a significant amount of eel DNA, leading scientists to believe that what people may believe is the Loch Ness Monster is in fact a giant eel. Number 4. Easter Island Statues. The Easter Island statues have stood guard on Easter Island for around 1,000 years, but these ancient stone statues have baffled archaeologists as to why they are there. Over 1,000 of these statues cover the landscape of Rapa Nui, or Easter Island as it is more commonly known, but scientists are uncertain as to their exact purpose. However, a team of researchers from the University of California claim that the Moai statues served a critical role for the people of Easter Island. According to the researchers, study shows that Moai were carved and placed around the island between the 14th and 19th century to boost the fertility of the land. The researchers analysed soil samples from a quarry and found evidence of foods such as bananas and sweet potatoes, as well as a tropical plant known as taro, which suggests that the land was an agricultural hotspot for the Easter Island people. Dr. Van Tilburg, who led the team of researchers, believes that the Moai were central to the idea of fertility, and their presence simulated agricultural food production. Number 3. The Umbrella Man. The mystery of the Umbrella Man involves a blurry figure seen in photos in the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas. The man is seen raising a black umbrella along the presidential route despite it being a clear day. Some people speculated that the Umbrella Man was signalling to the sniper who shot the president or was an assassin himself. However, in the 1970s, when the US House of Representatives reopened the JFK investigation, a 53-year-old warehouse manager named Louis Stephen Witt came forward and said that he was in fact the Umbrella Man. Which explained that he disliked JFK's father's former US ambassador to the UK, Joseph P. Kennedy, whom he faulted for supporting British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain's appeasement politics towards Hitler. Chamberlain's trademark was in fact an umbrella, and Witt had chosen to hold a big umbrella in an effort to provoke him. A member of the committee popped open the umbrella to reveal that it didn't contain a weapon. Number 2. Why the Mary Celeste was abandoned. The Mary Celeste was discovered abandoned on the 5th of December 1872, with experts unsure what had happened to the crew, which included Captain Benjamin Briggs, his crew of 7, as well as Briggs' wife and 2-year-old daughter. The crew were all well experienced, and this was not the first ship that Briggs had been a captain of. The Mary Celeste set sail on the 7th of November and was travelling from New York to Genoa in Italy. On board the ship was a form of denatured alcohol, 1,701 barrels to be exact. The Mary Celeste was found abandoned by the De Gruyter ship, less than a month into its 6-month journey. The last log for the Mary Celeste was on the 25th of November. When the crew of the De Gruyter got on board, they discovered a few feet of water in the bottom quarter of the boat, but other than that, everything else was in good condition, and it didn't appear that the ship had been damaged in any way by the adverse weather that the ship had set out in. There have been several theories put forward as to what happened to the crew, one being that Captain Briggs was well off course, and as the ship was found 400 miles from the Azores Island, that perhaps the crew had sought safe haven in Santa Maria. Another theory suggests that the crew got in a lifeboat, as it is mentioned that a lifeboat was missing, but where did the crew end up? If this was the case, why were they never found? The most likely theory is that the highly volatile cargo could have leaked and caught light, sending Captain Briggs and his crew into panic and taking the lifeboat. This theory, however, had always been discounted as there was no sign of an explosion or fire. However, an experiment conducted by a scientist at University College London revealed that an explosion may indeed have been the fate of what happened aboard the Mary Celeste. Dr. Andrea Seller built a replica of the hold of the Mary Celeste and using butane gas simulated an explosion caused by alcohol leaking from the ship's cargo. To replicate the wooden barrels the alcohol was stored in, Dr. Andrea Seller used cubes of paper. Setting light to the gas caused a huge blast which sent a ball of flame upwards. What was interesting is that the paper cubes were not burned or blackened. Therefore it seems that the explosion on the Mary Celeste would have been enough to blow open the hatches and terrify the crew on board, and would explain why they were so keen to get off the ship. While we may never know exactly what happened, this theory seems the most likely of what happened to the Mary Celeste and its crew. Number 1. Stonehenge. The mystery of why Stonehenge was built and its purpose has long been a subject of debate, but it seems that Professor Timothy Darvill has the answer after research that was carried out. Professor Timothy Darvill concluded that Stonehenge was designed as a calendar based on the solar year of 365.25 days, with its purpose being to help people keep track of the days, weeks and months. The professor explained that the calendar works in a straightforward way, with each of the 30 stones in the Sarsen circle representing a day within a month, with the month divided into 3 weeks, each consisting of 10 days. The distinctive stones in the circle mark the start of each week and the intercalary month of 5 days and a leap day every 4 years. He went on to say that the 4 station stones outside of the Sarsen circle provide markers to notch up until a leap day. A calendar consisting of 10-day weeks and extra months may seem strange to us today, but this was adopted by many cultures during this period. I hope you enjoyed the video, and what are your theories about these mysteries? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.